So guys, now in this lecture video we will going to understand that how a typical SQL query is executed by SQL engine of a typical relational database system. So let us say that we have a table. This table has 3 columns. Let the first column be the column of salary, which is specified in dollars. The second column is related to designation of an employee. So let the designation is represented by some alphabet. And the third column is, let's say, the address of work of an employee. Alright, so this is a simple relational table. And the user execute the following SQL query on this table. So now we will going to understand that how step by step this select query will going to produce the final out. There is a proper sequence in which the different clauses of this select query are applied and executed. You can see that this select query has an aggregate function, has a where clause, group by clause, having clause, order by clause, and limit clause. Alright, so let us see that how eventually this select query will going to produce the output. So the execution of select query starts with the linear scan on the table. The SQL engine, or a typical relational database management system, reads the table row by row. Alright, so reading a table row by row is called linear scan. And as we read a row from the table, immediately we apply the where clause. And where clause says that we will going to consider only those rows from the table in which the designation is capital D. So it means that this particular row will not be considered for further processing by the SQL engine, and the qualified rows are the remaining 4 rows of this relational table. So note that filter clause, that is the where filter clause, should be applied as close as possible to the data source. Here the data source is this table, and as soon as we read a record from this table, we must apply where clause so that unwanted records are filtered out as soon as possible, or in the very early stage of the query execution. So the very first thing is that to apply the where clause of the select query, and after that comes the group by clause. So as we keep on reading the records from this table, all the records which have qualified the where clause are grouped together based on the group by field. Here the group by field is an address. So internally we will going to create a hash table. So this is the hash table whose key is a field which is specified in the group by clause. So the field which is specified in the group by clause is address. Therefore, this is the hash table which is keyed by address field. Alright. And the value part of this hash table is actually a linked list. And linked list is nothing but it is a linked list of all those records which are read from the relational table in which the address field is same as the hash table key. Alright. So you can see that 4 records from this relational table were qualified by the where clause. All those 4 records are now grouped together based on their address field. The first bucket of the hash table contains 2 records. The second bucket of the hash table contains 1 record, and the third bucket of the hash table contains again the 1 record. Alright. So hash table is keyed by the group by fields, and value of a hash table is nothing but it is a list of records which are grouped together based on that group by field. So this is how group by clause is applied. In order to apply the group by clause, we need to create an internal temporary hash table so that we can group the records based on the group by field. So this is the step number 2. Now the step number 3 is to apply this aggregate function. Now how this aggregate function is applied? This aggregate function is applied on each bucket of the hash table. So you can see that we will walk over the linked list of the first bucket of the hash table, and the aggregate function says that we have to pick up the maximum salary value. So out of 21 and 12, the maximum value is 21. Similarly, on the second bucket, since second and third bucket contains only one record each, therefore the selected maximum salary will be 15 and 11. Alright. So now the hash table is transformed such that the keys of the hash table remains the same, but the value part of the hash table now contains the fields which are specified in the select list. So this is the address field, and the second one is the field on which aggregate function was applied and is specified in the select list. Alright, so you can see that the hash table has been transformed in which the keys remains the same, but the value part is no more a linked list, but the value part contains the fields which are present in the select list. The first field is the address, the second field is the maximum salary. So note that only columns in the select list must be retained. We are specifying only the columns which are specified in the select list in this transformed hash table. And in step number 4, then we specify the having clause. That is, we will going to filter out all those records from this hash table which do not satisfy this criteria. Now, as per the having clause, we are saying that we are only interested in those records in which the maximum salary is less than 20. So it simply means that we will going to discard the first bucket of the hash table because here the salary value is 21, which do not satisfy the having clause criteria. Alright, so only the second bucket and the third bucket of the hash table qualifies the having clause. And eventually the order by clause is applied. Here order by clause says that we have to sort the records as per the maximum salary value in the ascending order. And what are the qualified records we have? We have these two records as qualified records. The first one we are not interested anymore. So we will going to sort these two records as per the maximum salary value. So these records are sorted as per the maximum salary value. Alright, and by this time we do not need this hash table anymore, so it must be destroyed. Alright. We have created a sorted array based on order by field. So now this is an array and we do not need hash table anymore. The job of the hash table is done. So by the time we process the order by clause, the hash table is destroyed. And eventually the last thing is the limit clause. So it means that from this sorted list, we will going to emit the output of the first n records. Here value of n is 1. So we will going to output only the first record in this linked list. So this is the final output of this select query. So reading from the table, that is the linear scan, can be regarded as step 0. So I can write 0 here. That is, reading from the table is the very first step, which is step 0. So it is this order in which a typical select query is executed, and also note that it is a great interview question as well. The interviewer can very well give you an example and ask you that explain that how a given select SQL query will be executed step by step. So in the coming lecture video, when we will going to implement the SQL interface, we will exactly going to implement this algorithm for executing the select queries.